You're listening to 10.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not on.
Maxine, we all set?
Yep.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Franklin Planning Board, October 16th, 2023. This meeting is audio and video recorded, as well as on Zoom. And the Zoom call-in number is 312-626-6799. Meeting number is 992-065-19632. Amy's not going to be here tonight. She had previous commitments, so she's not going to be in, Beth, excuse me, and Amy's on Zoom tonight. So we had a little bit of a rearrangement of schedules. But what we'll do is we'll take care of general business first. And the first line item would be an 81P for an A&R for Prospect Street. And this, I don't know if Amy's on or not. Nope, okay. Basically, this, everyone knows, this is just, meets all the rules and regs. Basically, planning department acknowledges everything is in line, and it should be fine to sign off. But does anybody have any questions? This is a lot for Prospect Street. Anybody in the crowd? Anybody on Zoom have any questions? Mike, are you good with it as well?
No issues.
Just a typical, okay. So I make a motion to approve the 81P A&R for Prospect Street. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item of business will be a partial Form H for Washington Street. This will be the flex space for building number 1. I guess I'll go to Matt. Were you doing this one, or was it Gary?
No, it's more.
That's me.
All right, Matt. I'm gonna go to you first from Beta, based on the review, and then we'll go to Mike at DPW, and then if
Okay,
Amy's on,
thank you.
we'll catch her then. If you want to give us a brief overview.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I did visit the site last week, and we did provide the board with a letter of the outstanding items on the site. The list is fairly detailed, so I'm going to kind of try to summarize it into a couple of different categories just for the sake of time. So just starting out with some general site comments, there's stockpiles, some storage containers, some open trenching on the site. That certainly would impact the use of the site and opening it up to the general public. There's a large unstabilized slope that's north of the access driveway. I did speak with one of the project proponents today. It is their intention to seed that slope within the next 2 weeks, and they are going to install silt sacks on the down gradient catch basins to protect the stormwater system. There's also some modifications to the length of the installed guardrail on the site. Generally, these are acceptable, but terminal end sections need to be installed, and we've also recommended that the engineer of record coordinate with Mike Maglio as their guardrail comes up to Washington Street, so it'd make more sense to tie those together rather than have two ends abutting. Regarding utilities, they've added some additional utility poles on the site to carry the electrical service on before being directed underground. The electrical transformer has been relocated to the area between Building 1 and Building 2, which is actually where the dumpster was originally proposed. That is now depicted on a site plan modification that was submitted by Rick Gaudreau. So as a result of the relocated electrical pad, they've shifted the dumpster area over to the left a little bit. And it's unclear if they're going to be able to actually have enough pavement width as part of the phase 1, what's paved right now, to access that dumpster. Something relatively minor, they changed over the type of luminaires on the access driveway over to a Cobra head style. We don't anticipate any adverse lighting impacts from that. Another notable thing that was depicted on the site plan modification, propane tank, above ground tank is now being proposed. we would note that if the board does elect to grant this modification, that it be installed at the location depicted on the site plan modification. It's currently partially constructed and encroaching into the back out area for the vehicles parking near there. And then on stormwater, the pipe outlet from the stormwater system lacks a flared end section. It's got some stone blocking it up a little bit, and the riprap pad is a little undersized. And we just noted that the existing catch basin on Washington Street is still behind the existing bituminous berm. The stormwater currently is probably discharging as it did in the pre-construction condition. So that is the general overview. I'd be happy to discuss any specifics, or if the board has any questions on the review.
All right, good, thank you, Matt. I'm gonna go to Mike from DPW. Mike, if you wanna chime in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Beta's been out there watching all through all construction. Matt had a pretty comprehensive list of everything that's out there. We didn't have anything else to add beyond what Matt's already mentioned, what's included in his memo.
Okay, good, thank you. We'll go to the board first, and then Rick, you can introduce yourself when you're ready, then we'll respond back. All right, anybody have any questions or comments in reference to partial release? Jen, Rick, Billy?
No, Matt's kind of answered a lot of the stuff that I had on my mind, so I'm set.
Okay.
Yeah, through the chair, I just want a clarification to Beta. So the, currently you're saying what's being constructed out there to support the new propane tank is not aligned with where the propane tank is proposed on the plan? Is that
That's
accurate?
correct. It's probably maybe 3 feet into the parking area. So there's a little back out area for those vehicles right on the edge of the parking lot to back out. So the bollards were in that little back out area. So the construction should be, 3-ish feet further back.
Okay, yeah, and it looks like that back out area is tighter at its minimum as it is. Just
Correct.
Right, okay.
Okay, it's not that good of a picture.
All right, thank you.
I just had some questions. I know Matt hit upon a bunch of them. The dumpster relocation, with the access to that, especially backing out, that's one concern of mine. In completion of building one, I see your schedule calls out for completion of building one, but there is no dates for completion. I'd like to know what that is. I want to make sure fire department saw this new propane location. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't this going to be natural gas? Originally it was propane, then it was natural gas. Now we're back to propane?
That's correct.
Okay, so I want to weed through that one a little bit. And then Matt, like you said, with the catch basin at the entrance, you're going to pull that back in. Storage containers. So I guess, Rick, this is a pretty substantial shopping list that we have in front of us. Can you respond to some of them so we can try to figure out when we can get this thing squared away?
Sure. So,
Just introduce yourself for the record too, please.
Rick Goodrow with United Consultants, here this evening on behalf of the Franklin Flex Space. The proponents are here, as well as their consultant from the propane company, if there are any specific questions relative to the propane tank. And I can go through some of the items. Certainly anyone that the board has comments on or want to hear from, we can certainly double back and go over those. Some of the minor ones, the signs being installed, the photometrics are slightly different because of the heads, but we do not anticipate any issues with respect to that. As far as the catch basin behind the curb line, it's my understanding that the project proponents met with the DPW and they determined that that catch basin was not connected to anything. So that's why the curb line was adjusted and not located as originally designed for that catch basin. I don't know if Mike recalls that site meeting.
That was, I remember we met out there right before construction started, about a year or two ago. There was, I don't remember how that was resolved.
It's punctured, the drain line is closed.
It was
so-
sealed.
Yeah.
The catch basin was sealed. I'd have to go back and double check that, but I can verify what the issue was at, because we did, I remember we did go back and look at that to determine if it was connected to anything to the main in the street or not. I just want to go back and double check. It's been a while since I looked at that.
Wasn't that catch base, wasn't there a new catch base on the left side of the site that was to be installed too?
Yes, yeah.
And if so, could they be tied together, if not? Or the entrance?
Possibly. There was one on the downstream side of the
We
entrance.
did not have one at the
No.
downstream side.
I thought there was, okay. Well, if we can look into that.
Yeah, I think we can look into that and then,
Because that's causing your erosion on the left side going down the hill, that's why. It's causing the erosion on the left side of the site going down the hill.
no, this is out in Washington Street,
Yeah,
Mr.
no,
Chairman.
I know, water's flowing right by.
Correct, but that's how it was. There were no changes made.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that catch basin that's in the picture, that there's actually a berm in front of that basin. So the water from Washington Street currently doesn't get into that. It runs down past it and may or may not be getting into their driveway. But that catch basin is behind.
It's on the
berm.
site, and
Okay.
the site collects it.
Yeah, okay. Can you look into that, Bonnie?
Yes, we can meet with Mike out there and look into that. And also, we can look at the guardrail connection that Matt
Yep.
talked about. The applicant is planning on hydroseeding the slope within the next 2 weeks. And as Matt had mentioned, also installing the silt sacks in the catch basins, and that'll be done this week. As far as the guardrail extension, they stopped about 25 feet short. They have some temporary Jersey barriers there at that location currently, and the construction trailer is on the project side of the barriers, so we don't anticipate any issues with that. As far as the storage trailers, they are storing materials to be put into the units once an occupancy is granted, so once that happens, they will be removed from the site. The dumpster pad, as was mentioned, was relocated due to the transformer being larger than anticipated and being relocated by the utility company. Additionally, they added the poles because of the slope. They weren't able to do the underground work, it's my understanding. So that was modified per their design. And yes, the dumpster pad is in a tight location. It will function at this time. Their plan is to actually reduce the size of that and have a 6-yard dumpster for building 1 and then have a second dumpster area, which we had shown between buildings 2 and 3 to be utilized for buildings 2 and 3. So the dumpster pad will be reduced in width down to about 7 feet of fencing, if you will. So that will assist with that. We don't anticipate any issues at this time because the building hasn't been constructed. Once in construction, then we will have to make sure that the pavement or a surface will be extended to the building to allow for a vehicle to get into that area once the excavation and backfilling for the foundation is completed. They've addressed the shut-off for the water. And the trench, it's my understanding that the trench has already been backfilled. So what we had done is we had provided the planning department with a request for modification for basically 3 items, one of which was the relocation of the transformer. The second one was for the relocation of the dumpster pad due to the transformer relocation. I think we've discussed those. Certainly if the board has any questions or further concerns, we can discuss that. And then lastly, we had proposed to go back to propane. The applicant can certainly speak to the trials and tribulations they've had with the gas company in an attempt to get gas to the site. So we have shown an area for the propane to be located at the end of the parking area. The contractors have begun to prep that area and have actually placed a pad in the turnaround area. So we have 2 alternatives that we wanted to discuss with the board tonight relative to the propane tank location. Due to us having excess parking and one of the owners is the contractor for the project, he's going to be owning the first 2 units closest to the entrance. They would be willing to give up the 2 parking spaces and therefore not need the turnaround. That would be one option, and the second option would be if the board felt more comfortable to have it relocated, we could do that as well. And as I said, if you have any specific questions relative to the propane, I know the board had some issues in the initial public hearing relative to that. we do have the Eastern Propane representative here who will be providing the propane to the site to answer any technical questions the board may have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just, in going back to the dumpster location, Rick, it looks like you have some slash marks for parking with where it is now.
Those are gonna be eliminated. They were not supposed to be there.
So that wasn't inclusive in your parking?
That was
wasn't-
not
okay.
included in the original proposal.
Okay,
They're just for
Um,
construction guys to park, actually.
okay. The second item would be the propane. Well, first and foremost, I want to make sure that Beta gets a chance to look at the dumpster location, turnaround, et cetera, the approach. I want to make sure fire department's comfortable, as well as Beta, for the propane location. Now, the only problem I may have is, how many extra spots did you say you had? Because if they sell these first 2 units, those parking spots are gone. Doesn't matter, it still could happen in the future.
We've got 40 extra spots on the site, and above and beyond what's required by the code.
Seems like a lot.
And we're only gonna lose one space. Get back into the other.
No, I just want to make sure, so, okay, and you got a
When
question?
phase 3 happens, there's a big overflow.
One second.
I have a, Rick, I have a question through the chair. Looking at the photo, the transformer location, the dumpster is on the left, correct?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Okay, so,
I'm just-
so
Go
the parking stripes that are there, we're gonna have to eliminate at least 2 parking spots for this truck to get in there.
We have to eliminate them all.
We're gonna have to eliminate them all.
Okay.
That's why I'm asking if there's sufficient parking, but
Okay.
I want that confirmed by Beta and Mike.
Okay, all right.
And then, I definitely want to make sure that fire department gets their eyes on this as well, because this is a second rendition. And, so I guess my question is, based on that, I'm gonna go to the crowd and the audience in a minute.
This isn't a public hearing.
Yeah, I got one resident concerned about the propane, so.
Okay, but I just have, through the chair, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Regarding the propane tank location, are there any concerns for, the site drop-off, or I should say climb directly behind the proposed location of the propane tank? And maybe the propane company can answer this, I'm not sure, but, whether or not any sort of extension or additional retaining wall is needed? Are there certain clearances or buffers or site requirements for the immediate area of the site surrounding a propane tank? I'm just not sure, because I'm not an expert in this, but it looks like it's a pretty steep hill right behind it, or where it's starting to be excavated, where that prep is happening.
No, these are the ones.
Hi, my name's Darren Janae with Eastern Propane. As far as installation goes, according to NFP 58, CRM 527, as long as it's got to be not touching any vegetation or the ground surface. Right now, we don't see any issue with it. There is a slope there. That system will be a jurisdictional system, so we will have to annually inspect it, and that will be something we inspect, to make sure that if the ground level were to move at all, touch the tank, then we'd have to do something at that point. But as it stands now on a cement pad that we have there, we have sufficient space.
And through the chair, is there any concern for snow pile up kind of behind it, or, no, not at all? All right, thank you.
That's why I want fire department to look at it,
Yeah,
just to confirm
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, once the tank is installed and set in place, all the permits are there, we just have to call them for an inspection.
Before you set it, I want them to look at it first.
Sure.
Before you spend any more time and money on it,
Absolutely.
okay? So, yes, correct, Jen did correct me, this is just general business, not open to public, but I believe one of the residents had questions about the propane tanks, but if you want to give us a quick rundown of what happened with the natural gas, the propane, if you want to approach the mic, give your name.
Sure. Bill Hummel from Franklin Flex. The company that was supplying the gas for Eversource, they took over a year and a half to get back to us, and we had to go through the Senate and everything else to try to get them to return our calls. By the time they got out to the location, which we had already contacted Eastern Propane at that point, they said that there was no way they could bring gas into that site, and if the reason was they can only do a 190-degree turn with each of their bends before they get to the primary source, and they would have to do 3 of them to get to the building in order to bring the service into the site at the stage it was at that time. So they were basically trapped without being able to utilize Eversource.
Okay.
They won't bring it in.
What are your thoughts?
To be honest with Ms. Chair, I don't have that much experience with the actual natural gas lines, their requirements or not. I would have to talk to someone from Eversource.
Okay, so I guess we're gonna continue this anyways. So Rick, if you guys can figure out proper access to the dumpster, make sure you leave enough access between the 2 buildings for the next dumpster. Completion of building 1, you think you can get some of this stuff done over the next 2-3 weeks? Put a big dent in it?
Yep, yes.
All right. I definitely want fire department to look at location, et cetera, with the propane tanks.
The fire department will be out on Wednesday, so we can have a look at it at that time.
Yeah, I want to make sure I have a letter from them stating that they're comfortable with the site the way it
Yes,
is.
sir. Got that.
Okay. Look at the catch basin at the front entrance.
Yep.
See if we do something with that. Storage containers will be moved. Yep, the guardrails, so,
We put the terminations on the guardrails.
okay. So you got a pretty good shopping list, so I think, the, maybe continue, I'd like to continue this to November 20th, gives you 3 weeks to get everything cleaned up and knock this list down.
Could I ask a question here? We've got leases that are trying to get our folks in there, and these items don't really reflect on the, other than maybe the propane tank issue. It's safe, your guidelines are within 10 feet of a building for a propane tank of this size.
Yeah, but you have a lot of other issues that are ongoing on site, so I'm gonna make a motion to continue to the 20th. That way there you can clean up all loose ends, and when you come back, 85% of it will be cleaned up and done. Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Which day is that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
November 20th. Sorry. Yep. Okay, our next item of business will be 704 Washington Street. This will be for an endorsement. I don't know if Amy's on.
She is.
She is. Amy, if you want to give us a brief overview of us. 704
Sure,
Washington
thank-
Street?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the board actually voted to approve the site plan on February 27, 2023. It's kind of more of a house cleaning item. They just never got the plans endorsed. They do have the certificate of vote on the front page, and they do have a signature block as well on the front page to be endorsed.
Okay. Everybody's obviously familiar with this. Anybody have any comments or questions?
No, I'm all set.
Make a motion to have the board endorse the 704 Washington Street site plan. Wait a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Go to our next public hearing, and this will be initial public hearing for Uncas Ave. Do I hear a motion to waive the reading? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Amy, if you're there, if you could help us through with this one?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is actually kind of an old, site plan that was put together, back in January 27, 2014. It's on Casab Extension. It's in the single-family 4 zoning district. And originally, they had 9 lots, and they were permitted to do 2-family for each lot. We have since changed zoning for the single-family 4, that they're allowed to do 3-family per lot by special permit. So tonight, they have filed a special permit for 2 lots. Each lot will require a special permit, so tonight they're in front of us for 2 lots to allow for a 3-family on each lot. I do have that DPW did provide comments on it. We did not ask Beta to review this, given that it was already, the street, the drainage, everything's already been installed. So we've just only asked that DPW give us a review. Thank you.
All set, Amy?
Yes,
Okay,
thank
good.
you.
It was hard to hear you, sorry.
Oh,
Okay.
it was? Oh, sorry, I didn't know, people couldn't hear me.
Yeah, I didn't know if you can give it a little more volume, but, okay, that's good. Before I go to the applicant, I'll go to Mike with DPW. Mike, if you could
Thanks,
give us
Mr. Chairman.
an overview, please.
We had 2 comments on the submission. One, it wasn't clear at first whether or not as Amy had mentioned, the original subdivision was for 9 lots and they were all duplexes. And it looks like now they're going to triplexes, but it looks like they're only applying for the 2 lots that were shown, not all of the lots.
Eventually, we will do them all.
Okay.
We were just wanting to do the first 2, sorry.
Okay, so this application is just for the
Right.
first 2 lots to be triplexes, not changing the other ones at this time.
At this time.
Okay, so that's one thing I just want clarification on. And my other comment just had to do with the stormwater runoff, stormwater design. I just wanted to see something showing that there's no increase in runoff based on the proposed increase in impervious area on those 2 lots now. Just submit something showing that the existing drainage system can handle it, enough room in the detention basin, and there's not going to be anything exceeding what was originally designed. So that was my only comment on that.
Okay, good. Okay, the applicant wants to introduce themselves and give us an overview of what your thoughts are.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Rob Truax of GLM Engineering Consultants. We were the engineers for the original design as well as going forward with the 3-family units. We represent J. Walsh Corporation. Walsh Brothers Construction is the owner of the property, J. Walsh the applicant. So with this new bylaw, I guess the idea was to come in and do the 3-unit buildings in lieu of the 2 families. As you may know, you've probably been out there, the project's built, and to some extent, all the utilities are in, water, sewer, the roadways bind the course, there's no sidewalks in at this time. The only sidewalk that was installed was the off-site one. There was some off-site improvements with this project that went from the extension out to Route 140, which included a sidewalk and a waterline loop. It went back through the project as well, and all those improvements are complete. The drainage system's built, the detention basin's in place, it's currently working. I did do some calculations on the 2 lots, and there is a slight increase in runoff. Did you get a copy of that letter, Mike?
I did. What was submitted showed that there was an increase in runoff. It said it was less than 10% over the 25-year storm.
Yeah, it's very minimal.
That's, but I think it still needs to show that it meets, there's no runoff from the lots. There was some language, and I think in one of the handouts from the planning department that refer to that, but that's not in the bylaw at all, so I wasn't sure where
Okay.
that came from.
So there is a slight increase, so I guess we'll have to address that. Maybe we can work with you on that as to
Sure.
how to do it. I mean, we're not proposing any roof infiltration systems. I mean, that might be a solution. I can discuss that with the DPW. That could be a simple solution, add some more infiltration out there. There is a lot of rock in the area, but when you get to the, the lower side of the site where the detention basin is, it's actually very good gravel and sands. But on the upper side there, as you go towards, what's that, King Street, on that side of Uncas Ave, it gets, it gets ledgy if you're familiar with the area. So we might be a little limited on that, but I could work with Mike and we can take a look at the drainage system, show him what we've done in the past and, where it's at today if we include all these 3 families. I mean, I guess at that point, Mike, then we'd probably just look at the whole site for
It's
you.
probably worth it to, if you're going down that road, to design, make sure the design can handle all of it.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I was gonna recommend that, I was.
You're gonna make that recommendation?
I was gonna make that recommendation now.
Well, we weren't really sure how this whole thing was gonna pan out because it's a new bylaw, so we wanted to get in here first, and then we figured we'd walk into that.
Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt you. If you want to continue on.
No,
you're all
go ahead.
set. Okay.
I do have, I thought you might have had the plan up on the screen. I have it on a board. I can put it on an easel so you can see the site. Is that-
If you can,
Sure.
so the audience can see it as well as the public. And I'll go to the board. No. Not that. Jay, any questions or comments?
I guess the only one I really have right now is on the common drive, and if that's gonna be, there's gonna be deeded access back and forth between the two properties.
Okay. I had a question on the driveway as well myself, so, okay.
What was the question? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Let's,
Go ahead.
no, we'll go through and then
Okay.
we'll circle back to you that way.
Gotcha.
Okay, that was one, Jay? Anything else, or?
My concern is also, is the common drive, where it dead ends, there's no turnaround for any kind of, what are you gonna do with trash? Trash truck.
Okay. Well, we'll circle back to you. Rick?
I'm all set.
Okay. And then I actually had the same comment, the length of the common drive. Will there be a turnaround for trash pickup or, all the delivery trucks nowadays? Everybody's getting deliveries like daily to their homes. I gotta make sure you have for that. And I guess this would be a question, I'm not sure, maybe Amy could help us. Amy, will there be a waiver needed for this common drive within the subdivision? Because we've changed it?
You don't have, you're allowed a common driveway for two. So if it were to go to 3, can you hear me?
Yeah, if you can turn it up a little bit
Okay.
more, it'd be helpful.
Oh, this laptop.
If not, yell.
So if you're allowed a common driveway for 2, if you want 3, it's a special permit. So for 2, it's not a special permit.
2 buildings?
2 buildings or 2
2
units?
per building.
No, two lots.
Okay.
All right,
Lots.
so that clarifies that, okay. And the other comment I wanted to make a point is, has fire department seen this change? Because I want to make sure they're comfortable with it as well. And to Willie's point, how does a trash truck get in and out of there without having to back out onto the main road? That's why I'd like to know the length of that road as well. Unless a turnaround could be, T-bone type assembly, so you can get in and out of there safely. So, I guess, want to just respond to some of the comments and questions, if you could?
I don't know the exact length, but it's less than 300 feet. It's like 150 feet. My thought on the trash pickup would be they'd take it out to the main road. They wouldn't bring it in the common drives. They wouldn't drive it in.
That ain't gonna happen. You're gonna have this last end unit bring it all the way out to the main road during the winter?
Sure.
Gotta be in
Ain't
his
gonna happen.
slippers?
No way.
I mean, it's not much, it's not
Just
super
like-
long compared to some other,
Would you do it?
I barely get it up to my driveway.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
We had an
just,
issue like this, and we said no.
yeah,
My
Correct.
own
And-
personal driveway was longer than that, and I used to bring it out, so
yeah.
it was like 400 feet.
Yeah, I'd like that looked at, only because it's
Who would we
safety
talk to
purpose.
about trash pickup? What would the trash who's the trash company? Is
It
it-
would be the, who's it, waste
Waste management, but,
management.
I mean, the only thing with that is that they pick up on the passenger side, so he can come in okay. Now he's gotta turn around to pick up the opposite side. There's no way for him to turn around. He can't back out onto the street and then back into
No,
the street.
But I'm saying if they all took their trash out to the main road,
Solves the problem.
to the subdivision, they would turn around in the subdivisions.
Yeah, somebody else had that same train of thought too, at one time.
Yeah.
And-
I wouldn't think they'd drive down all the individual driveways, personally, that's my
Well, if it
opinion.
being a private, common driveway, it's 22 feet wide. I
Right.
would assume they'd want to pick it up. I don't think the resident's gonna walk 300 feet with the trash cans, to tell you the truth. That's just me. You gotta think of reality, I guess, that's all. So I think if you can make some comment out of that one, that would be beneficial. And as well as, Amazon trucks and FedEx trucks, and, I mean, we're getting so many of these coming in like this, that you're not leaving enough access. You can't expect them to turn around in the people's driveway, because then they're gonna back into the guy's car, then it's gonna be an insurance claim, so we just wanna approach it the right way from the very get-go.
We'll look into the turnaround. I just
Okay.
personally don't like to put a big turnaround at the end of something so small and create all
Do
this
a
impervious
T-bone or something,
coverage.
just look into it, because other than that, it's a public safety thing in my eyes. If you got vehicles backing out of that for 300 feet, and you're serving, 2 more units than what was originally approved, you know, you have that many more cars, and that was gonna be my other comment. If you had duplexes, you had 9 lots, that was, 18 original duplexes, now you bumped it up to 27.
Correct.
I'd like to see, I don't know if we wanna look at some numbers with traffic with this now, because you just basically added a third to what was there. I'd like to see if Beta or Mike can review that.
I could touch base with Bay to see what their initial thoughts are on that. I don't believe they've seen this at all yet.
Okay, so I'd like to make sure we look into that as well, if we could. Because now we just upped the traffic on that road by a third in what was originally planned, okay?
Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
That's Amy.
Yep.
So do we want Beta to review this now?
Yes,
Okay.
there's too many questions. I think they should, just to cover everybody.
Okay.
All right, so I'll just, if anybody else has any comments, I'll go to the audience. If anybody in the audience has any comments or questions, if so, just approach the mic and give us your name and address, please.
Katie Tower. I live at 54 King. I'm probably the newest person to the project. I just moved in 2021. So I know the lots back there. I've been talking to my neighbor, like I've got some of the history on the project. I do have a lot of questions. Why are we looking at triplexes? Are they gonna be owner occupied? Are they gonna be condos? Like the trash mitigation? Are you gonna have to blast the site because there is a lot of rock back there? You know, there's just a lot of questions I have.
Want to answer, if you can, in a quick nutshell?
Sure. Yeah, the idea is that they would be condominiums for sale,
For sale.
individual owners.
Okay.
And as far as the rock goes, there is some rock out there. There may be some blasting or some crushing, you know, hammering for the foundations, but we did do some testing. We were able to get down 4 or 5 feet in most areas where the foundations were going, so we weren't that concerned with it. They didn't do any blasting when they built the roadway and the utilities, so we don't anticipate a lot of that.
Right. I saw like they're blasting behind Wendy's right now, and someone that works from home over there has constant 12 hours of noise starting at 7 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Like, I work from home full time. How much is this gonna disrupt that? Like,
If there's any blasting, they actually have to go through fire department, because that's their jurisdiction as well. So they'll do a pre-blast survey, then they'll do the blast, and then they'll come back. So if I'm not mistaken, that's the
and
approach.
is there gonna be any privacy fencing put up on the backside of these that abut our properties? I worry about the trash disposal. Like, you're saying that people are gonna expect people to take their trash down this common driveway. Who's to say someone's not gonna just dump their trash in the woods behind my house?
Well, if they're property owners, I'm pretty sure they're not gonna, but yeah,
You don't know. Like,
You don't.
there's
Yeah.
trash back there already.
yeah,
You know,
They have to
like,
live there too, so.
yeah, exactly. Okay, that was it?
I think that might be, I have a little list, so.
Okay.
Oh, the other issue, the other question I had was, apparently when the project was first discussed and worked on, there was a right-of-way or an easement behind the properties on King Street. Then there was some amount of property or yardage that was supposed to be deeded to the homeowners at that time, and it wasn't done. So is that still on the books? Apparently there was a 20-40-20 right-of-way behind the properties.
What property owners? King Street side? I wasn't aware of that one, but,
I'm not aware of it.
okay.
But there are some old right-of-ways back there behind the houses. I don't know what the extent of those are, but, so this is the overall subdivision. built, they're just
they're
paper
not
streets.
roads.
As well as
Paper
this,
streets,
Uncas
yeah.
Ave, the paper street, Cook, isn't built down
Yeah,
here.
so like I'm
Right.
here, so I'm,
So your lot lines go to the leading edge of that easement anyways, on the
Yeah.
front side?
Right,
Right.
this is a
Yeah.
private way.
Yeah. so
It's
you're
never
co-
been, I don't think it's been abandoned,
Okay.
so it's still a paper street of some sort.
That's Hill Ave, isn't it?
Is that what it's called now?
I think it's,
No, it's,
No, it's a William Street.
it's a totally different one.
what is it?
It's a, there's.
All right,
the- yeah.
that's okay. All right, I was just curious.
Yeah, it's
40 foot.
40-foot
Okay.
right of ways.
All right, just,
I mean, technically, they own to the center line,
correct,
private.
correct. Yep, okay.
I think that's.
You all set? Okay, thank you. If you have a question or comment, just approach the mic. Just give your
Just
name
a
and
quick
address,
comment.
please.
My name's Rainey Paradise, 9 Cook Street. Seismic equipment was set up at my house when they started the project, so there was blasting. That comment is not true. Just wanted to
Okay.
point that out.
Okay,
My mistake,
thank you.
wasn't aware.
Okay. Anybody else in the audience or on Zoom? Okay. So obviously, we're gonna continue this. We got some homework that could be done. I want Beta to look into a few things, so. Amy, what do you think, November 20th? Does that give enough time?
Yeah, I'm just thinking how long, it would either be the 6th or the 20th, how long it will take. Actually, if it's gonna be beta review, I would, yeah, put it on probably the 20th.
Want to go the 20th? Okay. So I make a motion to continue Uncas Ave till November 20th. Here's
Second.
the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next item of business would be a King Street rezone. And I understand they're looking for an continuation. Amy, can you help us with this one?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Due to the elections coming up, and this being a rezoned for, our zoning
Excuse
bylaws.
us.
All right, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so due to, our rezoning of the bylaws, it's been recommended by our, town attorney, Mark Sorrell, that we open and continue to November 20th.
Okay. So this will be initial public hearing, so I make a motion to waive the reading for the rezoning of King Street. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Amy, I'll make a motion to continue this till November 20th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. Our next public hearing would be for preliminary subdivision for Kimberly Ave. Amy, if you would kindly give us a run-through, please, from Department of Planning.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, at the last meeting, the board had, reviewed that they have 5 waiver requests. The board requested that they provide a plan with no waivers. They have provided 2 plans, one with minimal waivers, which still includes 2 waivers, and then one with the same amount of waivers. So it's really up to the board if they want to decide on granting them the waivers or not, or what waivers they would or would not. I do need to know that if the board doesn't make a decision tonight, they would need to ask the applicant to request an extension to, the decision has to be made by October 20th, so you would need to request an extension to the next meeting, whether it be the 6th or November 6th and November 20th.
Okay. All right, good, thank you, Amy.
And our DPW also has comments.
Yep. So I'll go to Mike from DPW. Mike, if you could give us an overview, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had two comments on the latest submission. The applicant did submit an alternate plan with fuel waivers, as Amy had mentioned. My concern is just the one waiver that's still there is to extend the end of Kimberly Ave an additional 400 feet. Kimberly Ave currently is 1,430 feet long, which already exceeds the 600-foot allowable length for a dead-end street. They're looking to extend that another 400. Then my other comment was, at the proposed cul-de-sac that they have shown there, even though that it's being proposed as a private right-of-way, the cul-de-sac itself, the sides or part of the bulb that extends beyond the main layout is proposed as a permanent easement. I would recommend that any permanent pavement that's going to be part of the roadway, whether it's private or public, should be within its own layout as opposed to an easement, which will eventually become someone on one of the other homeowners' properties. So, those are two comments.
Okay, good, thank you. So, I'll go to the board after. We'll go to the applicant. If you want to introduce yourselves, please, for the record.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, Joel Dorico, applicant, and
Amanda Cavalieri with Gary Aaron Hellman.
Okay. If you could give us your newest briefing of what your thoughts are.
Sure. Joel, do you okay?
well, my initial thoughts on all of this, Mr. Chairman and members, is for it to be a private subdivision, whereas town of Franklin would have no municipal responsibility in perpetuity for the roadway maintenance and upkeep. It would be a homeowners association that would be funded. I would start the fund, and then they would put into it as needed for snow plowing and maintenance and sweeping and so forth. The subdivision would yield access to the town of Franklin Maple Hill land to the north on Lot A, immediately into the property. The subdivision would have a typical cul-de-sac, regulated cul-de-sac, and it wouldn't be a conveyance. The last two lots would have an easement to use the turnaround, as would anyone else visiting them would have an easement. So it would be an easement, but they would actually own the crescent-shaped portion of the two crescent-shaped portions of the lot. The layout of both is 56 feet per your regulations, but the pavement width would be 22 feet because it's a private road, which has been a precedent that's been set in the past here in Franklin. Not recently, but within 10 years, I believe.
Amanda, you have any comment, question? No? Okay. I'll go to the board. Well, Beth isn't here tonight, so it's gonna be a bit of a hiccup here, but, Jen or Jay, any comments or questions?
Through the chair,
Go ahead, Jen.
maybe this question to Amanda or Joel, are you proposing to clear cut all 4 of these lots? Unless I'm missing, maybe I'm missing like a landscape plan,
No.
but I can't tell where sort of the extent of wooded area remains versus what.
So for a preliminary, this is really just a general layout for where the houses are being proposed in the driveways. Limited clearing, landscaping, drainage, grading, utilities, that'll all be part of a definitive should the board choose to move forward with
Okay, thank you.
with this.
If I could answer about later on, back in '93, when I started Highland Estates, I put a tree cutting covenant down on all the lots to try to save trees. And I've named it balsam because I want to save the trees, as long as the trees aren't too close to where the homes are because the wind blows. But I like trees, it would be my second subdivision named after a tree. I did Hemlock Lane, so I'm in favor of trees.
Okay, thank you. All set, Jen? Okay, Jay, you had some questions?
So, I guess the first one is personally, I'm not overly concerned with the length of the roadway. There's a number of other roadways in that area, Madison and Bridle Path, which both would exceed the, the new length of Kimberly Lane, so I'm not really sure that that's something that I'm overly concerned about. I guess the big one is, I'm not a private road person. I don't know how you guys feel about them. I personally find that and with all your best intentions, right, in setting up the homeowners association, I found that they typically don't fare well in the future, and there can become a lot of issues that the town has ultimately been trying to attempt to navigate how to help people on private property with. So my preference would be just to make it a public road. But yeah, those are really my only two comments.
Okay, good.
If we limiting sidewalks and things like that, I think we're going about doing some of that in town anyway, so if we kept it to like one side, account for some right of way stuff, but those are really my only comments.
Okay, good. Rick?
I'm good for now.
Okay. Willie?
I'm all set.
Okay, I actually had similar comments. I'm still pondering the thought about the length of the road, so I want to think that one through still. The other thing is to Jay's point, could it become a public way? Because that has happened in the past in the town. People have come forth looking for help because it just never materialized, but that's just a thought. I would probably recommend that there be granite curbing, carry the 22-foot road all the way down, cul-de-sac, as Mike says, grass strip, but basically you're building it to the Franklin's rules and regs. Not too keen on a private way like that. You actually have a 4-lot subdivision. It's not like 1 or 2 lots that you could ask for a private way, but you're literally putting a subdivision in, not a private way. You're extending that a little bit too much, in my
Well,
eyes.
if I could add, Mr. Chairman, just a comment. Homeowners association regulations would be placed in the deed.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I know.
it would be legit and legal. But I
I'm
heard
not
you.
questioning that, yeah. It's just as time went, the general upkeep, whether they want to spend the money.
Yeah.
Because it's going to go into the fund. Oh, we don't want to spend the money this year. Well, let's
Right.
bump it till next
I
year.
understand.
It's like a condo homeowners association, same thing. So it's
Well-
up to those particular 4 people what they want to do with that piece of property as it's
If
turned
the
over.
board wants a municipal street, that's fine with me.
Okay, all right.
If I may too, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify as well, private way and common driveway are the 2 different things to distinguish between. I just want to make sure that everybody's clear that this is being acknowledged as or permitted as a private subdivision. So whether it becomes a public or private, but it's a subdivision, it's not a common driveway. Just so we are aware, it is a subdivision. Okay.
Through the chair, to Mike's point about the turnaround, would it be possible to adjust lot lines to ensure that the entire turnaround is within, is not, have an easement as a part of it?
From what we know, the answer is no. The easement is not a conveyance, it's just a right to use. There was a turnaround easement at Sherburne Lane off of Dover Circle, it's still there. There was a turnaround easement at Newell Drive, which I extended to in '93. So there are turnaround easements in the past in this town.
Mike, your thoughts?
In my opinion, it's as far as doing it, there are some in town, there's some that are shown as temporary, some as permanent. I think it's cleaner if it's, part of the actual layout for the roadway, as opposed to, any confusion as far as who owns what, with the easements in there and, future homeowners.
especially if it became public way.
If it's public, I think it should definitely be within the layout. If it's gonna become a town road, it would absolutely, should be that way.
Okay. Okay. So I guess if everybody's all set for the time being, we'll go to the audience. If anybody is in the audience has any comments or questions, just approach the mic and give your name and address, please.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Grady. I live at 10 Madison Avenue, so I'm one of the abutting parcels. I'm just going to speak to one issue tonight. I think this project poses several that we've touched on, but how long should a dead-end road be? If this waiver is granted, you're going to end up with a street that's over 1,800 feet long. And Franklin's own rules say 600 feet. Now, I know that Kimberly was built previously, and there's others that are quote-unquote grandfathered in. But at the end of the day, if this goes through, we will set a precedent that we can extend it as over 1,800 feet. And with due respect, I did some very quick research. What do professional organizations say on the issue? The American Society of Civil Engineers, the Massachusetts Federation of Planning Boards, the Institute of Transportation Engineers, the National Association of Home Builders, the Urban Land Institute, the National Fire Code and International Fire Code, and the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials. All have published the length of dead-end roads, and all of them would oppose it. All of them say it's not good practice, it's bad practice. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody in, oh, yeah. Give your name and address, please.
Kit Brady, 36 Kimberly Avenue. I'm an immediate abutter. So just to start off with respect to the history, this identical subdivision was submitted in 2005 as Kimberly Estates and was declined by the planning board for the reasons that we've discussed tonight, and there was a lot of concern by the fire department with respect to the extension of the street. So that's precedent with respect to this subdivision. Secondly, I just had some questions about the size of the retention basins, which seem to be particularly large, which would mean that there'd be clear cutting. And I'm just worried as an abutter, I'm having these big pits that might fill up with water. How long would that take to drain? Does it need to be that big? Could they be reduced in size? And I think the neighborhood's primary concern with this project is that Mr. Dorico offering our neighborhood as parking for the town land by having an easement. Our neighborhood and the street is not built to have traffic and parking. It's already narrow with a lot of little kids. And once the town conservation land gets developed, I would anticipate there'd be a lot more traffic, a lot more parking, and our neighborhood is really not built to become public parking for the town's land in the future. So I think the town needs to figure out how they're going to be able to address the parking issues with the Maple Hill land, incorporating it into Maple Hill and not relying on the neighborhoods to become de facto parking lots for the future uses of the public land.
Okay,
So, thank you.
Amanda, did you want to comment on the size of the basins?
Sure. The size of the basins right now, again, preliminary, we've done some testing out there for groundwater and soil classification. The full design has not been conducted yet. That's typically once you get into the design phase. For the definitive and by the stormwater standards and the zoning or the town regulations, those need to drain within 72 hours. So they have to be sized appropriately for I'm not drainage expert, but as far as the storm goes, it has to meet certain requirements to meet the stormwater standards. So, so right now this is conceptual, based on rough sizing, but the full drainage report and analysis has not been completed yet.
Okay, good, thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Anybody in Zoom have any comments or questions? With Beth not being here, whoops, oh, go ahead.
One question through the chair. I just noticed, Joel, it says relocate existing hydrant, but it's not showing where it's going, or I'm not seeing it.
That is the correct location. The existing hydrants in the center.
Okay, so the one that's at the end of the cul-de-sac now, is that going to stay?
So that one's gonna be, the one at the end of the cul-de-sac is gonna be shifted over to the right. So that dark
That's the-
hydrant,
Oh,
that's
okay.
the proposed
Okay.
hydrant.
That's the
It's
new
just
layout.
being shifted out of the right of way.
Is there one going to be added to the new roadway
Private wells.
No, extension of.
of the hydrant?
I met with the fire chief, Mr. David, at the end of July, the beginning of August, and showed him this plan, and he was acceptable to where that existing hydrant was to take care of the additional lots,
Okay,
all right? I met with him.
okay.
And I was gonna
Chief
ask.
Barberry.
Okay, and I was gonna ask for comments from fire department as well anyways.
And I'd also mention, for Mr. Brady's knowledge, that these basins will be treed and landscaped so that he's not gonna notice
Okay.
with arborvitae or whatever.
Okay. All right, so, we're not gonna make any decisions tonight on this because I wanna make sure we have Beth's, input on it. So I'm gonna make a motion to continue, preliminary subdivision Kimberly Ave to,
The extension?
excuse me?
Yes.
The
Yeah,
extension.
they'll have to,
Oh.
yep,
I'll go in the office tomorrow.
yep. Wanna go November 6th for the continuation, is it all in favor?
Aye.
Second?
Second?
Aye.
All in favor, okay.
Aye.
So November 6th will continue, and if you can get the extension letter to Amy
I
at the
will.
office, that would be great.
I will.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, there. Okay, actually, our next item of business will be a continuation of Zero Upper Union Street, the solar project. And Amy, if you can give us a brief on that, I believe they're looking for continuation as well.
They are, Mr. Chairman, to, November 6th.
We'll have enough time for November 6th if they're prepared?
Yes.
Okay. So I make a motion to continue the Zero Upper Union Street solar project to November 6th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then our last item of business will be public hearing. It'll be continuation for 15 Liberty Way. And Amy, if I could get an overview from you, please.
Yeah, so they are supposed to be present tonight. I'm not sure, cause I'm sorry, I'm virtual. They wanted to give an update on where they're at with their plans, so I'm not sure if anyone is present to give an update to the board tonight.
Okay, is anybody from 15 Liberty Way in Zoom land? I do not see anybody raising their hands.
No?
So, should we continue them till?
No, yeah, I would recommend continue it to November 6th.
So we make a motion to continue 15 Liberty Way to November 6th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, good. Anybody have any general comments or questions from you? If not, I make a motion to adjourn. Hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Amy.
Good night, thank you all.
Thank you.